But through that process, something ancient awakens. You begin to remember who you were before the world told you what to become. You stop chasing and start listening. You stop consuming and start creating. And with each moment of stillness, each breath of presence, you begin to weave yourself back together, piece by piece, wound by wound. And from that sacred reassembly, a new identity forms, one rooted in truth, not trauma. Creation is the antidote to emptiness, not consumption. Lust is consumption. Love, true love, is creation. It is the act of giving from a place of fullness. And you cannot give if you are still bleeding from your own wounds. You must first become the well before you can pour into another. And that becoming takes time, patience, devotion. It is the sacred journey of turning your pain into power, your wounds into wisdom. So you must learn to love yourself, not as a cliche, but as a sacred duty, to sit with your shadow, to hold your inner child, to speak the words to yourself that no one ever did, to become the protector you never had, the nurturer you always needed. Because the love you've been seeking is not out there. It's within, buried beneath the rubble of expectations and shame. And when you uncover it, you will never chase again. This is the hero's journey, not to conquer the world, but to conquer the illusion that someone else will save you. They won't. And that is not a tragedy. It is a liberation. Because when you stop outsourcing your worth, your joy, your meaning, you reclaim your power. And that reclamation is the beginning of everything. It is in silence that we finally hear the truth. Not the silence of absence, but the silence of presence. A presence so deep it confronts everything we've run from. People chase chaos because quiet terrifies them. Because in that quiet, they must meet themselves. And what they find there might not be beautiful. At first, it might be grief. It might be rage. It might be the parts of you you tried to forget. But beneath all of that is gold, pure, unfiltered truth. And that truth will set you free. But this is the crucible of transformation. The self is forged not in pleasure, but in pain. In the void, when there is no one left to distract you, you are finally introduced to who you really are. Not who you pretend to be, not who others need you to be, but who you've always been. And that reunion, while terrifying, is the most beautiful thing you will ever experience. And it hurts. Oh, it hurts. Because you realize how much of your life was a performance. How many of your relationships were just negotiations for love you didn't believe you deserved. How often you gave your body in the hope someone would finally see your soul, but they couldn't. Not because they were cruel, but because you hadn't yet seen it yourself. You can only be loved to the depth that you are known. And if you've never known yourself, love will always feel out of reach. This is what they don't tell you about healing. It's violent, not in action, but in realization, in letting the mask fall, in seeing the wreckage of your coping mechanisms. You grieve the years you lost pretending you were okay. You grieve the innocence that was stolen, the trust that was broken, the time you can never get back. But that grief, that is sacred. That is your soul washing itself clean. That is you stepping into truth. And once the weeping stops, something still and powerful rises in its place. A knowing, a peace that doesn't need noise to feel alive. You begin to understand why you were always running, because what you feared most wasn't loneliness. It was truth. And now with truth as your ally, you are no longer seduced by the counterfeit forms of connection. You become immune to the charm of those who do not see you. You stop falling for potential and start honoring reality. You no longer give away your fire in exchange for flickers of attention. You are no longer fooled by beauty without depth, touch without love, attention without care. You can see the difference between lust and love, not because someone taught you, but because you've sat in the fire and it refined you. The fire burned away your illusions. It melted your masks. And in that burning, you were reborn. Not as something new, but as something ancient. As yourself. You now walk slower. You speak softer. You need less. Not because you are empty, but because you are full. You no longer beg to be chosen. You choose yourself. Again, and again, and again. And each time you do, the universe responds, not with applause, but with alignment, with clarity, with grace. Because when you choose yourself, you tell the world who you are, and the world listens. And as you choose yourself, something miraculous happens. The right people appear. Not to save you, but to walk beside you. Not to fill you, but to celebrate the wholeness you fought to reclaim. They see you not as a project, but as a mirror. Not as a rescue, but as a partner. And in that sacred reciprocity, you experience a love you never thought possible. A love rooted in truth, not trauma. This is what they call soul alchemy, where emptiness becomes expansion, where wounds become wisdom, where what once broke you becomes the very ground you rise from. You become the medicine you once begged others to give you, and that medicine, that healing, ripples outward, changing everyone you touch, not because you saved them, but because you reminded them of who they are. So the next time you feel that ache, that gnawing hunger inside you, pause. Don't run, don't numb, don't seduce or escape. Instead, turn inward. Listen. Ask yourself, what am I really craving? Is it their body or is it my truth? Is it their voice or is it my own? And when the answer comes, not from your mouth, but from your marrow, honor it. It may not be easy, but it will be true. And the truth is the only thing that can set you free. So the next time you feel that ache, that gnawing hunger inside you, pause. Don't run, don't numb, don't seduce or escape. Instead, turn inward. Listen. Ask yourself, what am I really craving? Is it their body or is it my truth? Is it their voice or is it my own? And when the answer comes, not from your mouth but from your marrow, honor it. It may not be easy, but it will be true. And the truth is the only thing that can set you free. There is a sacred transformation that begins when you realize the ache within you has nothing to do with what you lack and everything to do with what you have not yet faced. That ache, that longing, that restless desire, it is not a mistake. It is the exact place your soul is inviting you to enter. It is the temple of your becoming. Every time you distract yourself from it, you deny your own rebirth. It is only when you bow to it, surrender to it, give it your undivided attention, that it begins to speak. And when it speaks, it doesn't speak in rational sentences or surface-level logic. It speaks in tears, in shivers, in images from your past, in memories you thought were forgotten. It brings you back to that moment when you felt invisible, when you were abandoned, when you learned to survive by suppressing your essence. That ache is not lust. It is memory. It is a wound that remembers being unheld. And only when you hold it yourself will you begin to heal. You must become the witness you never had, the sanctuary you always longed for. That is the only way forward. All else is illusion. All else is temporary relief. And this is where the deepest truth resides. The emptiness inside you is not a curse. It is a call to step into a life that reflects your true nature, not the version of you shaped by fear, trauma, or unworthiness. When you stop feeding the void with hollow encounters and start filling it with meaning, creativity, solitude, and self-reclamation, it begins to shrink. Or perhaps, more accurately, it begins to transform. What once felt like a black hole consuming your sense of self now becomes a wellspring of power. Because on the other side of that pain is your purpose, your mission. The reason you are here. You were never meant to escape your emptiness. You were meant to understand it, to converse with it, to let it guide you. Because that very void you've been running from holds the blueprint of your soul's evolution. It is not here to torment you. It is here to teach you. And its final lesson is this. You were never broken. You were always whole. You just forgot. And now, it's time to remember.